My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And due to recent events, I thought I would do a show on how to prepare, confront, and grow from a setback. Now notice I said a setback. I'm not saying that this causes grief, and I'm not going to say that this is causing such a disturbance in my life. I will just call it a setback. Now, what was this setback? Well, I was just turned down for monetization on YouTube. Now, I was turned down the first time, and I thought, well, I can appeal this, so let me try it again. And I got turned down again. So now I got turned down 2 times. They say I can try again in 3 months. Now, here's what bothers me. Number one, there's absolutely no explanation as to why they make a decision like this. They just say, you're not monetized. That's it. So I'm a problem solver. I don't mind if there's setbacks and problems and issues. I'm all about it. I'm all about the struggle. I'm all about the adversity. Let's do it. But when they don't give you a way to fix the problem, it seems awfully interesting to me about how they expect you to appeal in 3 months with no idea of how to do better because they're the ones who are making the decision. So I don't know how you do this. So you're kind of stuck in a situation, and I'm going to get into this more about why it would bother me. And again, I'm doing this show not for me, but I want to do it for other people who do experience setbacks. And I want to go through a process of why things bother you maybe in a little bit more of an out of proportion need than what it needs to be. And one of it is just to feel helpless of, okay, if there's a problem, then why can't I fix it? Like, give me an opportunity, give me a chance. So as you're listening to this, go back a little bit in your life and think, well, was there ever a time in your life when somebody didn't give you an appropriate opportunity or an appropriate chance? Right? And this is what I'm experiencing right now as I'm going through this. Now, right at the top, let's be clear. I have more than enough subscribers and more than enough engagement from what they're looking at. I think, and again, they may have changed in the last day or two, whatever, but they need 1,000 subscribers. I have 7,000. So I have 7 times the amount of subscribers that they're looking for. And I have like double or triple, something like that, of the amount of engagement that you need. So that's not the problem. So it's not there. It has to be somewhere else. So as I'm tracking through this, again, as a therapist, what do I do? Well, I have to figure out how to prepare for this. And when you're going into a situation where you're not in total control, how do you prepare for the setback? Well, what you do is you try to be as perfect as humanly possible. You try to bring as much value to the situation as possible to minimize the chances of you being rejected. And that's what I tried to do. So what is under my control and what isn't? Well, what's under my control is my work ethic. And my work ethic is this. Starting from, and now 9 years of this or so is not on YouTube, but I did run a radio show from August of 2012, which is another reason why I was going to do the show anyway. But I started in August of 2012, and I started this YouTube channel about 3 years ago. And during that, an 11-year process, I've had 11 years of doing one show per week, every single week, for 11 years straight. That's a good work ethic. And you also have to consider the fact that I am the sole writer and the creator of these shows. Now, I have done interviews with people, that's true, but you can say pretty much 99% of my shows are all written and done by one person, and that's me. I mean, I do have help in the background and that type of thing. I didn't even know how to do the technology of putting this up on YouTube. Granted, that's true. But in terms of the knowledge needed to do these shows, I don't have writers. I don't have other people helping me out. Nothing like that, like a lot of other shows do. Should that be rewarded? No, I don't think so. But I do think it's something to be said for my work ethic. Now, let's look at in terms of professionalism. I think what's in my control is to improve my value and my professionalism. Well, with that, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I have a degree in exercise physiology, and I also have a minor degree in Civil War history, if you can believe that. And I also have about 35 years of professional experience, and I've been running my own business for about 35 years. And I've been competing actually probably longer than that. I've been competing since I was 16 years old. So I have that. Why do I even say that in terms of bodybuilding competition? Because there's plenty of 18-year-old kids that are showing you how to do a curl, and they're getting monetized, and they've been working out like 3 months. So it's really weird, like when YouTube says there's a certain amount of professionalism that we expect. What are you talking about right now? Like, really? Like, come on now. Like, it's just really annoying. I just kind of have this feeling that I've been screwed. And why am I saying this? Because I know that there's other people out there that have the same feeling about certain things and how things have gone on in their life. So these are some of the things that are under my control, to do the best I can, and I think I have done that. Now, what's not under my control? Well, number one, their decision. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want, and they don't have to give you any reason for it, and they just say, come back later. Meanwhile, I sit back and watch, and I look at their guidelines, and I see person after person after person getting monetized and getting hit really well in terms of the algorithms, that their shows get sent out to a lot of people. And I have no control over that. But here's something that's really interesting. I have shows, I have one that's about, I don't know, 75,000 people or 75,000 views, which is pretty good. I have a lot of them that are in the teens, some of them are a couple of thousand, and some of them are just a few hundred, granted. But here's the funny thing. Since I've been denied twice on YouTube, my last show has like 20 views on it. And the other one that I just put out, I think I went a bunch of hours and I saw like 0 views on it. Now, what is this all about? Do they actually send them out anymore? I mean, there was 1 or 2 shows that I had where people commented and they said, well, thank you for the algorithm this time. They actually sent me an actual professional that knows what he's talking about in psychology. And I felt very grateful for that. But it never happens. It's like this needle in a haystack. You're waiting for the algorithms to take over for some weird reason, and it doesn't always work like that. It doesn't necessarily work on merit. Again, if it's up to me, and it is my responsibility, and it is under my control to have merit, right? But it's not under my control for that to be rewarded in any way. What else isn't under my control? Well, the policy that they have of not telling you how to fix the problem. Now, why they wouldn't want to tell you to fix the problem or how to do it, it makes no sense to me. I don't know. Like, wouldn't they want more people to be able to fix the problem so they can be monetized more, so they make more money? I don't know. I don't know how it works, but it's really weird. So that's the preparation part of dealing with a setback. In other words, you prepare for it even before it happens, so you can minimize the chances of having a setback. It didn't work in this situation, but it usually does, you know, when you're treated fairly. But we'll talk about that. Next part, how to confront the reality of a setback. Well, you have to look at it. What is the reality? The reality here is that I didn't get monetized. So that's it, done. What do you do from that? Well, you either quit or you move on. Which one you want to do? Well, for me, I move on, and I'm going to continue to do these shows. But why? Well, number one, because I like it. That's the main reason. I haven't been getting paid all these years anyway, and it doesn't matter now if I get paid or not. I actually have a job. I have multiple jobs, and I have multiple opportunities for other jobs. So that's not it. It's almost a personal insult. Now, listen, I'm smart enough to know that YouTube doesn't know me personally, and it's not a personal insult, but it sure feels that way, especially when you're actually overqualified for the job, and you see so many people that are underqualified being these incredible influencers when they really have no business being influencers. But yet YouTube actually pushes them to be influencers. So we look at some of the breakdown in our society. You know, a lot of times we have to look at these big organizations that are allowing this to happen. You know, that's part of it. What else? I like to give out free information, you know, and that's another reason why I want to do these shows. Again, I'm a professional in every which way you can judge a professional to be. I meet the standard. But psychology is a very difficult profession, I think, and actually personal training is as well. And the reason why I feel that way is because I always look for what it's like to be the person who needs the help. Now, I've been on the other side, right? I've had that situation where you feel that you just want somebody to help you. You just feel a little desperate because you just want something good to happen and you need it to happen. And maybe you just feel so bad inside that you want something, and you're not looking for a way out. You're not looking to mask the problem. You're looking for help. And it's really hard to get, because if you are in the personal training business, personal trainers charge a lot of money most of the time. And so if you want help from a personal trainer, you're looking at training maybe 1, 2, 3 times a week at like $100 a session. It's kind of cost prohibitive for a lot of people. There's a lot of good, caring people that deserve help that are not going to get it because they're priced out. And when we're looking at psychology, there's a lot of hurting people out there that I want to help. But you know, you're charging a minimum. The average therapist maybe on the low side is $150 an hour. If you're a hurting person and you're going through some really bad stuff, you're going through a divorce, or you just lost your kids, or you have grief, does 1 hour help? You're going to need a lot more than that, especially if you don't have a supportive family. And the thought that, you know, you need $150 in a week to come up with when things are probably already tight as it is, and you need a lot more than that. So now you're looking at maybe once a week for 4 weeks, for a month. Now you're looking at $600, and you haven't even begun to touch the problem. Because people who are hurting, people who are going through grief, you know, a few hours like that is just nothing. You need a lot of hours of help. And so I look at this and I go, well, I went to school for a long time. I deserve the money that I get. But how do you help people that can't afford you? And they are definitely deserving of help. So one of the things I try to do is that I offer a lot of services for free. And one of the things I do is do these YouTube shows. And I want them to be free for people. And I want people to connect with me. I want them to ask me a question, and then I could do a whole show on that question and maybe help them that way and give them at least a little bit of relief when they need it most. And I think YouTube is great for that. I think it sucks that they put so many people at the top of the algorithms and put these people on pedestals and make them millionaires who, for the most part, are not professionals. You know, and many times they want to maybe make people feel good, but they don't want people to do good. So they just say a bunch of stuff. They usually just keep, in psychology anyway, that's all they do is keep repeating the term narcissist, narcissist, narcissist. You know, and they make everybody, oh, I love this channel because we get to make fun of people. But that doesn't help people. I mean, it does create a little bit of awareness, maybe, but most of the people in psychology are doing narcissism channels. They're not professionals. They're just bitter people that are trying to get back at their exes. How is that helpful, and why is YouTube pushing this? I'll never understand. You know, like I said, the more I talk, the more I end up, you know, shooting myself in the foot, right? Because now my views are going to go down even more because they don't want me talking. So, but you know what? If you're a person out there and you need help, you know, I'm here. Send me a question and I will answer it. I've come from a poor family. I don't think people should be cut out and stepped on and treated poorly and demeaned and devalued because they don't have the right amount of money on them. That's not fair. It's not fair at all. So I want to stay on this platform to help people, because, I mean, what am I going to do to reach people that need help? That, you know, I mean, what am I going to do? Yell out my car, yell out my window at my house? Yell out my car window? You know, I mean, how better, you know, have a chance to reach people, even though the algorithms aren't working well for me. So if you are listening to this, maybe you can send it to somebody else to help. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I have no idea why YouTube would say no to me, and I'm an actual professional. It makes no sense to me. Another reason why I want to do this show is because it allows me to formulate my own thoughts and opinions. As a professional, I have to take 20 hours of continuing education credits per year. And I don't think that's nearly enough. I mean, that's what the governing body expects you to do and you have to do to maintain your license. But that's garbage. I mean, I probably do hundreds of hours on my own. You know, I don't just try to go for that 20 and think it's a big hassle and a burden to take 20 hours of extra work. I mean, you should be keeping up on the latest. As a matter of fact, just the work that I do for, say, 4 shows in a month here is definitely more than 20 hours. You know, I do that every month. I've done that for, like I said, like 11, 12 years. You know, so I like to keep up with that, and I like to keep up with the latest, and this gives me a way to do it. And even if nobody listens to it, I get to do it for myself. And I think it's not just for myself, but it makes it that I can formulate thoughts and opinions and keep up on the latest data and the technology and all the latest studies, and I can help the clients that I actually do have in my own private practice. So those are some reasons why I want to keep doing this. But to be fair, I do not want to do an emotional bypass here or a spiritual bypass and just go, well, you know, I'm not allowed to complain. I'm not allowed to feel bad because I'm a man. You know, I'm not allowed to feel that somebody hurt me right now. I can't feel that. That was maybe me when I was like 15 years old. But as an older guy, I understand that I always did get hurt. I just never said it. So now I'm going to say it. So what happens here? I'm angry, right? And that's usually not the first line emotion. Anger is something where it's a bodyguard for the other deeper emotions. And some of those deeper emotions would be, I'm disappointed about the whole thing. I think it's completely unfair. I'm completely aggravated and annoyed. We can go with that. It's just treated completely unfairly. I mean, you could use the word indignant, right? Indignant would mean anger that's based on somebody else's unfair behavior. And it's not just because it's an injury or, you know, taking me back from my own personal interests. I mean, obviously I would like to be monetized, so I have a personal interest here. But that's not just where the hurt comes from. The hurt comes from the unfairness of it all. And so one of the things is that I have to look at it and go, okay, is life fair? No, life is not fair. I understand that, and I've been pushing through it my whole life. But what would trigger me? Now, this is the part for people to listen to how you can help yourself. Take a look at your feeling and figure out, is your reaction disproportionate to the situation? That's number one. And number two, think back, like, when did you feel like this before and why is this triggering you? And I look at myself and I go, well, I come from a poor background, right? So I know that when somebody comes from a background that is, like, under-resourced, you don't have enough money, what happens automatically most of the time is that you're denied certain opportunities in this life, and you do get unfair treatment, and you do get less opportunity. And to take it off of me for a second, you know, I also watched my father throughout his life. And my father had a regular job, but his thing that he really loved to do, his passion, was to race cars. And my father, people would tell you this, they knew that, like, my father was the best racing car driver anybody's ever seen. I mean, he has trophies stacked on top of trophies, but never got paid any money for it. It was just a thing that he did. I mean, he's won so many races. I can't even count them all. I mean, he died a few years ago, and I still have a lot of his trophies. And I use it for inspiration because he was so good at it. But one of the things I know is that when he raced on a weekly basis at the Freeport Raceway, this racetrack doesn't exist anymore. But when it did, my father didn't have enough money to race in the normal races where they had the souped up cars. So they had a division called the spectator drags, where you go once around the track in your street car. And whatever happened, if you got hit, you know, that's on your own with your insurance company, but people just did it. And I remember being in the stands all the time, and my father had this 4-door green Impala, obviously not what you would call a race car. And all these other people had Corvettes and Camaros and all these other souped up Mustangs, and everybody in the stands, sometimes 5, 6, 7,000 people, would be cheering for these souped up cars. And once again, everybody's cheering for the person who's got the most expensive car and all this. And my father was like, people didn't cheer for him much in the beginning because he had this average car. And what happened was that my father was always end up in the final 4 in these. Why? Because his driving skills were obviously far and above everybody else's. And it took, finally, over a period of time, the people who knew better understood that my father was the best driver there. And if he was put in a car that was halfway as fast as the other ones, he would be winning every single week. And it was really funny. There was one year he put in he had some extra money. He put a little bit more into the car, and he ended up winning the track championship that year. And it's really interesting. Like, people still don't understand that there's a lot of people with a lot of skill that deserve a lot more in this life. But it really doesn't come down to skill in this world a lot of the time. It comes down to who gets marketed the most and who gets the most money. And again, with YouTube, it's like, who gets the algorithms? Like, and who knows how that works, right? So it's a problem. Something else with my father driving that always bothered me, and I'm going to say it here, and if my distant family hears it, I don't care. There was one person in my family who did have a sponsorship, and he had a fancier car. And he was my cousin, who was older at that time, and not once, not even once, of all the years that my father and my cousin raced at the racetrack, did he offer for my father to drive that car. Not once. And the reason for that is because with all the money that that side of the family had that put into that car, he could never do better than like 5th place. And the reason he didn't want to put my father in that car, because he knew that my father would win and make him look stupid. And this is even in our own family. So it really goes deep when I see unfairness. I can't stand it. And growing up throughout my life, again, I've always been the one to stand up for the marginalized people, because somebody needs a voice. And at some point, they couldn't keep me out of college, right? Like, that's something you can get into, but you have to have the right amount of money, right? There are tickets to ride. But as I got through it, I'm glad I was able to put myself in a position where I have a voice. And now I can help people. And I can help people who deserve it, even if they don't have money. Because just because somebody has money doesn't make them a better person and that they're more deserving of help. That's not true. And in this situation with YouTube, I'm getting screwed. Because I should have a voice. I'm deserving of one. They don't see it that way. That's fine, I guess, because I have no control. Now, I'm going to do this real quick because the show's 22 minutes long, but I'm going to give you some things here when it says, here are some things that you need to look at in order to be monetized. I guess it's their community standard. So let me run this down real quick. Number one, you shouldn't have an inappropriate language. Okay, for 12 years, I can tell you this. I have never used profanity or cursed, not one time, on any of my shows. Now, do other people? Sure they do. I don't mind if people curse. Words are just words. I get it, but I'm trying to maintain a level of professionalism that supposedly YouTube wants. And I know shows, including with psychologists, that they curse every other word. Does YouTube have a problem with that? It doesn't seem to be. So why write it down as a community standard if you don't follow it, but then you're going to screw me because you don't monetize me for that. Okay, so let's go. Is there violence? None of my shows have violence. Adult content, yeah, psychology is adult content for sure, but they're not talking about that. They're talking about, it says highly sexualized content, in the title or thumbnail, sexualized themes. I don't do that. Are there other people that do that? Yes, they do. And are they monetized? Yes, they are. So again, hypocrites. Shocking content, things that may upset, disgust, or shock viewers. I don't do that. Harmful or dangerous acts. No, I don't do that. Hateful or derogatory content. I don't do that, but let's get back to that in a second. Recreational drugs and drug-related content. I speak against that all the time. Firearms-related content, nope, don't do that. Sensitive events, nope. As a matter of fact, half the time when there's sensitive events that happen, like shootings, and people say it didn't happen, why is that on YouTube? And I'm the one who possibly could get in trouble for saying that they're lying? So I'm telling the truth, I get in trouble, but the ones who are saying that like Sandy Hook didn't happen, they get boosted to the top, right? Enabling, let's see, dishonest behavior, nope, don't do that. Inappropriate content for kids and families, nope, don't do that. So, tobacco-related content, no. So let's talk about incendiary and demeaning content and hateful and derogatory content. I've never done this, and I never will do this. But let's have a little talk here. We're at the 24-minute mark. Let's see how quick I can do this if you're still here. Let's look at somebody like Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is like on Mount Olympus as in terms of being a clinical psychologist. Not because his peers think he's great. It's because of YouTube has put him at the forefront of everything. And the more that they keep pushing his content, the more they keep putting his stuff out there for people, the more popular he has gotten. Now, he's got popular for other reasons, don't get me wrong, but YouTube does push his stuff. Now, let's be honest about this. Again, YouTube is worried about you being a professional. Here's something for you. Jordan Peterson just lost his license as a professional. Why? Because of the way he acts, and what he says is not professional. So if the actual governing body in psychology says that he's not professional, why does YouTube step in and say, oh no, he's professional enough for us, and then they make him the most popular clinical psychologist in the world when he doesn't have any clients? You know, it reminds me in a sense, not the same, but kind of like Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil makes $30 million a year and doesn't have a license. And when I was reading one of his books, he said that he couldn't hold a clientele because he's not made out to counsel people. So why do people buy into his advice then, or what he actually thinks? He doesn't know that much. And plus, besides that, like I said, I write all my content. He has like 30 people behind the scenes who write all of his content. He barely does anything. He's the figurehead, but makes $30 million a year. Again, unfair? Yes. Does it trigger me? Of course it does. Like, come on. This is capitalism. And I think, you know, if we're going to say the better people should rise to the top, well, they should. Why don't they? That's a problem. So again, Jordan Peterson lost his license. YouTube, no problem. They'll continue to, I'm sure, monetize him. No problem. Continuing. There's a lot of shows that have lies, they have misinformation, they push conspiracy theories. All these hurt people sometimes and kill people at other times. Is YouTube okay with that? Yes, absolutely they push these channels. Of course they do. What gives there? Why is that now? That's okay. That meets the industry standards, the community standards, does it? How? How does it do that? To have people put out medical misinformation and then make it so that good people out there that are trying to find information, because the algorithms push the most popular, that they think the most popular opinion is the correct one when it's not. And by the way, people like Joe Rogan, they're not professionals. And he's okay too. He can interview anybody he wants, but when he puts people on there that push misinformation and lies, people think that that's true. They think that that's just another opinion. No, there are people out there that don't deserve an opinion. Just like me. I know what I know, but don't ask me for my opinion on somebody being a cardiothoracic surgeon. I'm not that. So I don't have an opinion. Right? Don't ask me about my opinion about a mechanic if he's trying to fix your transmission. I don't deserve an opinion. Like, we need to be in a world here that says that, and stop being in this coddling world that everybody deserves an opinion. No, we don't. You don't want me to read your x-ray, do you? No, I don't deserve an opinion because I don't have the ability in that area, but in other areas, I do. There's some people out there pushing some really bad and brutal and dangerous ideas out there. For example, people are justifying the Holocaust. They said the Holocaust didn't happen. Not only didn't it happen, some people say it did happen, but there was reasons for it and it was okay. On the other hand, people are also saying that slavery was good for black people. You know, thank God for, slavery in the United States. Like, that was a good thing for black people? And then they lie about a lot of things. So what I'm thinking to do, maybe, I'm thinking about doing a couple of shows of being able to point out some of these shows and where they lie and where they're just putting out a bunch of misinformation for likes and subscribers, and how they're, in a sense, they're ruining our country. YouTube is helping these people get paid, and they get paid handsomely, by the way, to put misinformation out there, which is hurting our country. So I don't have much more to say about that. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Again, I try to put out the best information I can, and I am a professional. And for whatever YouTube thinks or whatever the reason is that I'm not the only one. You know, it's really interesting. I know a lot of great therapists, and their YouTube channels are doing as bad as mine. You know, it's kind of funny. But when then I know some other ones that they seem to do really well, and they're basically just reading out of the DSM. They don't have a thought on their own. So I don't know what YouTube is looking for. They're not saying what they're looking for. They just do it. But from what the parameters that they give out and the guidelines that they give out, they're not following them. They're not following them at all. So let's say that. So right there, probably shot myself in the foot. They can get angry at me, look over my channel, and then they'll go, yeah, let's strike him down again, whatever. But it's really unfortunate. Anyway, point of the show, how to prepare, which didn't work in this instance, how to confront, and how to grow from setbacks. How do you grow from it? You just take it and you just move on from it. I'm going to continue. I look at the bright side, and I think I've already looked at the bright side. Like I said, I enjoy doing the show. It is there for people who want some free information, and I like expanding my education all the time, even though it doesn't seem to matter with some of these YouTube channels. You take somebody like Jordan Peterson, all he talks about is politics. That's not his area. But then when he throws in any type of psychology, it's so slanted in one way. But I guess I don't need to say that, because the governing body, the professionals, actually did take his license away. So they know what I'm talking about. But it's this, like, YouTube and other people thinking that it's okay for people to act like that and do things like that and say things like that. And they think because they're popular that they're better. It doesn't work that way. Hopefully this has been beneficial to you in some way. My name is Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project, the unmonetized show. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.